Hey guys, welcome back to another video in this channel. Sorry, I blanked out over there. So today we're going to continue with the Lighthouse. We're back to 3D, we're back to our usual stuff. Remember, tomorrow we're going to have a mini project. So we're going to be working Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday on a small little project that I want you guys to follow up. Also, tomorrow on Monday, we will be opening our submissions for our next portfolio review, which will be next weekend, okay? Just keep that in mind. Now, let me jump here into the screen. There we go. And let me move this thing around because I think, there we go. Is that better? I think the audio should be a little bit better there. So, yeah, today we're going to continue, and I want to test my tablet, of course, and I want to do a couple of sculpting, a little bit of sculpting, and I was thinking about doing this, guys, right here. So, as you can see, both this door right here, there's another, like, little window seal over here, and most of the planks up here are, like, damaged wood planks, so I thought it would be a good idea to show you guys a quick little sculpting tutorial inside of ZBRUSH and how to do the bakes to generate some nice low polys, because right now pretty much all of the wood that we've been doing has been just like low poly, like super low poly, and the textures, right, like tileable texture, which works pretty nice for all of this like key bashing things, but for specific things like those planks over there, I think it's going to be a little bit better if we sculpt and create a little bit of variation. So let's jump into ZBRUSH. There we go. I'm gonna move my microphone a little bit. I'm still trying to find like the best what's the word? The best setup for the whole thing. So we're gonna jump into a one of these guys, the Polymesh 3D. Let's turn off Lightbox. And down here on the, well, of course, let's draw one. Press the letter T to go into edit mode. And over here in the initialize tab, we can change this resolution to 1, 1, and 1 and make it a key cube. So now, as you can see, this is pretty much just like a 6-sided cube. Let's press F to really focus. I'm actually going to be using my keyboard. There we go. So this is what we have, right? Which have just like a basic cube. I like to make this a Polymesh 3D so that we have another tool and we can go back to the other ones when we need to. Now, I'm going to go straight into R to scale this up. So I'm going to scale this, or actually down. I'm going to scale this down, make it a little bit lighter, and make it longer. There we go, like this. So as you can see, this gives us a nice little effect. Now, we don't want, and we mentioned this, we don't want to have this be like a traditional, like normal plank like what that ones we have. We want to give it a little bit more life, more sculpting, right? So I'm going to go into my C modeler right here. And in mesh, I am going to go into insert. And we're going to insert multiple edge loops. And let's do specify resolution. Let's do like 6 or 7 is fine. There we go. So as you can see, we've pretty much divided the whole thing into like a bunch of different elements. If I press the letter D, remember, we jump into dynamic subdivision, which is going to give us this, and it looks horrible. And the reason why it looks super horrible is because we don't have any support edges. So pretty similar as in Maya, I'm going to go here in insert, and I'm going to go single edge loop, and I'm going to insert like one right there, one right there, one down here. Doesn't have to be perfect because this is going to be the high poly. So there we go. So now when I press D, always yes, there we go. You can see that the wood holds a lot nicer, right? Like really nicely. We can actually add a couple of more, like one right there and one right there, and that's going to hold even better. There we go. Perfect. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into geometry. I'm going to go into dynamic subdivision. We're going to say dynamic, and we're going to hit apply. So now this is actual resolution that we're doing. And we can actually just straight up jump into Dynamesh. So I do not want to freeze the transformations. And you can see that we get this. Now, of course, we're going to lose a little bit of resolution. If you don't want that to happen, you can turn on polish, which, by the way, if you're using... if you're not using my interface, you can go here, Dynamesh, and there's the polish option. And when you turn Dynamesh on, what's going to happen is the edges should hold a little bit better. For some reason, there we go. That's holding a little bit better. Perfect. So I'm definitely going to increase the resolution a little bit. And just like, let's go into like clay buildup, just like modify a little bit and then recalculate. There we go. And you can see how we get that like chewed up effect. So I'm going to go into train dynamic, and let's start like really working here with this plank of wood. In this case, or in this particular case, I don't think it's necessary to do like the lines of the wood. It's more about like the what's the word? The silhouette of the wood, right? So the reason I don't want to do the lines is they tend, whenever you do the lines, they tend to look a little bit too cartoonish, too stylized. So I don't think that's what we're going for here. So again, trim dynamic, and it's just a matter of like hitting some of the edges here and there. We are going to be making this a tileable effect, so that's why I don't want to make like super specific like damages to the whole thing. It's very important that we keep it like very natural in the damage. Like it should feel organic. Like it shouldn't feel like there's like a very recognizable pattern, just like a general damage would. Now you can see it's really straight. Here's where maybe a little bit of like move brush will help. So I'm just gonna like push things in and out in a couple of areas. There we go. Nice. Perfect. So yeah, you can see our little plank of wood's looking quite nice, I would say. We can of course add a little bit of like bumps in here and then smooth them out. Again, that's just gonna kind of like change the surface. Again, I don't want to create like specific patterns on the wood because I feel like that's gonna make it a little bit too predictable and too obvious. But we can change just a little bit of damage here and there, which is gonna be accentuated by the eventual texture that we're gonna be adding in Substance Painter, right? So we're just adding just very nice. It's kind of like noise. It's kind of like adding noise to the whole thing. Let's make this bigger. There we go. There we go. So again, it's just noise. It's just to break up the silhouette a little bit. And this is pretty much it. Again, if you want, you can make this your high poly and add all of the like the wood grain and stuff. I don't think I want to do it for now, just because I think we're gonna benefit a little bit more from the textures. But what I can do though is we can use Damien Standard, for instance. Let's actually give more resolution. 26,000 is way too little, so let's go like really high. There we go. No, we're still like quite high, quite low. Oh no, actually we're high, right? That's way higher than what we had. There we go. So now I am gonna go here to the borders, which borders are one of those areas that it's a little bit tricky to like get properly with texture because they don't really change the silhouette. So we can actually like add this sort of noise here and kind of like go in here with the grain of the wood. I'm changing the size of my brush quite a bit to really get in there, and then soften to blend it out, because otherwise when we place the actual texture on Substance Painter, could look a little bit weird. Let's add a little bit more here. Again, all of this is going to help with the silhouette, and it's going to make this look a little bit more natural, more like a gnarly old wood plank. Whenever I'm doing like weapon handles and like staffs and stuff like that, it always helps to do this sort of like effect. Train dynamic is going to be your friend, because it kind of like polishes things up, as you can see there, while still keeping like the general silhouette. There we go. See how nice that effect looks. Again, I'm not too worried about lines there, because we are going to have the lines. It's more about the silhouette. The silhouette's what's really what I'm trying to capture here with these things. There we go. Takes time, as with everything. Dynamesh there. With polish, I like that. That's nice. Now let's do the same thing on this other side. So again, let's just like add a couple of cuts here and there at different like levels. And then Dynamesh. Trim dynamic. Gonna work a little bit faster here. Damien Standard. Careful with this sort of like details. Like here I'm adding this like very obvious cut. And the problem with this very obvious cut is that if people see this cut, they will know that this is a tileable like plank, and it might take away from the tileable fact, right? From repeatable textures. It might not. It might just like people might ignore it and don't even see it. Just keep in mind that adding those sort of details could be detrimental. So if you're gonna do them sparingly. There we go. So the big question is, okay, we have this 322,000 point plank, which is looking good, and we know that once we apply a texture to this, it's gonna look even better. but how can we make this or how can we make a low poly out of this in a simple way, right? We can of course retopologize, but I know if I try to retopologize this, it would be like really time consuming. So I'm gonna show you one little trick, guys, and this is something that has been, or I've heard people use it a little bit more nowadays than previous years or in previous versions of engines, because engines nowadays, they don't care too much about poly count. We've talked about this before. Poly count is no longer really an issue, and we can actually use nanite, which is one of the newest features in Unreal Engine 5, where we pretty much throw a poly count through the board and we don't need it anymore. So yeah, I'm gonna show you here real quick. First of all, I'm gonna clone this to have a copy, work on the copy. C plugin, decimation master, and I'm gonna pre-process this at 20%. So let's wait there. So C plugin and decimate current. So we're now at 64,000, which is a perfectly fine high poly effect. We can add more detail, but I'm gonna keep it like this. So let's export this. Let's go to our projects. And let's go to the Nexttut Live, Assets, Lighthouse, and let's call this Wood Planks. There we go. So this is gonna be wood plank underscore high. There we go. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the C plugin and I'm going to pre-process this again, and I'm going to really decimate this to like 0.5%. And I'm going to say decimate current. So what's going to happen, as you can see there, we're only at 322 points, which is about 700 triangles. It looks really ugly, but since this is not something that's going to be deformed, it's actually capturing the detail and the forms and everything that we need in a very precise way. Okay, so this is it. This is our low poly, and I've used this technique with like statues, with like concrete like walls or pieces in the middle of our roadway, sometimes with walls and like pillars and stuff. It's a really handy thing. The pro thing about this is that's really easy to do. As you can see here, like it's done. We don't need to do anything. The bad thing is that the poly count is not as optimized as you might want. As you can see, it is a little bit high. It will be a little bit difficult to do the UVs, not so difficult after the little trick that I'm going to show you, but you won't have as clean as UVs as you would normally have. But again, it's a nice way or a nice thing to do when you don't need to worry too much about the poly count, okay? So this trick I recommend for things that are not going to be like hero props. If it's going to be like a really important part of the scene, of course, a character, you can't do this. But if it's going to be like on the background or something, I don't think this is a bad technique to use. So I'm just going to export this, and we're going to export this. Let's go back to our Lighthouse here. Wood planks, and this is going to be wood plank low. Now, I'm also going to be addressing, I'm not sure if it's addressing or addressing. I'm going to have to check that out. One of the questions that someone had about bakes, and this is going to be important. So we don't need to save right now. Let's go File, Import, and I am going to go to my assets, a Lighthouse, a wood planks, and let's import the high first, and then File, Import, and the low now. There we go. So they're probably there, super small. There, super small. So I'm going to grab both. Very important that we grab both and make them a little bit bigger. Not super big, but something like this. I think it's going to be fine. And yeah, so what I want to do is I'm going to grab the low poly first, and let's get the UVs. So we're going to use my same technique, or actually my new improved technique, thanks to one of you guys who suggested using camera-based. So I'm just going to get camera-based, which is going to give me what I would usually get from my planar mapping, which is this right here. Perfect. And now here's the little trick that I want to show you. As you can see, this is pretty much a cube, right? So I can go to the front view, grab all of the top faces like this, as close as possible as I can get to the top faces, and then say UV. We can go back here. And again, UV and just planar mapping. And it's going to planar map those faces. So it's pretty much like I created a cut all the way through the bottom part. See that? And that's it. That's pretty much all the things you need to do, because now I can just grab these two pieces right here, say Control U, and we're going to have a perfectly nice unfold. As you can see here, yes, we will have a seam, but things are working like pretty nicely. Things unfolded very nicely, and they're in a good position. So I'm going to grab both of them. I'm going to press Ctrl L to, of course, lay them out. And one of the reasons why I wanted to bring them into Maya first is I actually want to have 3 copies of these planks so that they have slightly different textures. It's going to be the same normal map. It's going to be the same ambient occlusion and everything, but they're going to have slightly different textures. So let's rename things first. So let's change this name to wood plank high, and then this one to wood plank high low. There we go. So here's one of the big deals about bakes, right? And someone in the comments yesterday mentioned that whenever they do bakes for like teeth or things that are really close together, the things that are close together get baked onto other things, which is very common. Sometimes you want that. So for instance, if you're doing an object that is going to be like, it's never going to be taken apart, it's just going to be a whole object, you definitely want to bake the ambient occlusion and the cavity and everything together so that the texture really looks like everything is like on the crevices and stuff. But for instance, in this case, let's say we wanted to do this bake right here, and I'm actually going to like rotate this guys around. Let's do 180 degrees. And then this guy's around like this. So they look slightly different, right? So 180 degrees here. So if I were to bake this, some of the detail from this guy right here will be projected to this guy right here. Some of the detail from this guy right here will be projected to this guy right here. And that's a pain. That's a pain. And sometimes when you have like a character, this is the best example I can give you guys. Whenever you have like a character and the character's wearing like a necklace, imagine that that necklace is going to eventually be like animated with physics. So when the character moves, the necklace is just going to be like flying all the way around. If you have the necklace and you do the bakes, when the necklace moves, you're going to have like a weird shadow and a weird normal map projected on the chest of the character. So you have 2 options. Either you bake the character and the necklace in 2 separate scenes in Substance Painter, which then won't allow you to really like compare the colors and make sure everything looks fine, or you use the trick that I'm going to show you. First, you're going to grab all of the high polygons and you're going to create a group. And this group's going to be called high polys. You can call them plank high polys, whatever, just a name that's easy to remember. We're also going to group the low polys as low polys. There we go. Really doesn't matter how the names are over here. The name that matters is this one right here. So the first plank I'm going to call A. The second plank I'm going to call B. And the third plank, of course, is going to be C. And we're going to have we need to have the exact same names on the ones below them. Okay, super important. And then the suffix, in this case underscore high and underscore low, has to be exactly the same. Actually, here I messed up because this one, let's erase the letters here. There we go. So this one's the first one. So that's A underscore low, and then that's B underscore low, and then that's C underscore low. Make sure that C and C are the same one, B and B are the same one, and A and A are the same one. I'm going to grab all the low ones, go into UV editor again. Oh, tired of this thing. Let's dock it here. There we go. There we go. So I'm going to go over here, grab all of these shells and just hit Control L. And as you can see, they're now all in the same like thing here. I'm probably going to move them, just make them slightly smaller so that they're not like going into any other tiles. And they're using the space like very nicely, right? Like we're making sure that everything is being used properly. So I'm going to grab the group and all of the low ones. I'm going to say File, Export Selection. We're going to export this, of course, in our Assets folder, Lighthouse, wood planks, and we're gonna call them wood planks underscore low. And then all of these guys, same deal, but they're gonna be underscore high. Now, one of the things that I'm a little bit worried about is that they have very similar names. So I am gonna go very quickly here to the what's the word? Lighthouse. Where's the lighthouse? There we go. Wood planks. So you can see, yeah, they're pretty much the same. So that's wood plank high, wood plank low. So which one is which one, right? So I'm gonna go here, view details, and some of them are gonna be like if I take the time of creation, I know these are the low polys. So I'm just gonna delete them to make sure that I don't get them mixed up, and that's it. So now we're gonna go into Substance Painter. we're jumping everywhere, right? We're going from Maya to ZBrush to Substance. That's usually the way we do it. So we're going to go into Substance Painter and we're going to do the bakes now. Hopefully, most of you already know how to do the bakes. If not, I know one of the biggest courses that you guys have been asking for is like specific like Substance Painter course. We're trying to see how to make that work because it's a little bit difficult. But we do take that, or we do have that one on the radar. So I'm going to create a new one. I think 2K is more than enough for those ones. If we need 4K later on, we can do it 4K. Let's go 2021, or sorry, where are we? Oh, that's the other drive. There we go. Assets, Lighthouse, wood planks low. 2K, no UDIMs, no nothing. Okay, and there we go. Boom. Big problem here. Small thing that I forgot to do. As you can see, the normals are not smoothed, so we're seeing like all of the jaggedy edges from the triangles. So very important to grab all of the lows and say mesh display, soften edge. Now we grab this guys again, file, export selection, export again. There we go. We don't need to restart. We just go here, project configuration, select the guys again, hit open, and there we go. So now we should see like a smooth transition pretty much everywhere. We go into textures and settings down here, bake mesh maps, and we're going to change this to 2K maps. And on the 2K maps, very important, we're of course going to be loading the high poly, which is this one right here. And here's where the magic happens. If I don't want one thing to transfer from one to the other, here where it says match, we're going to change from always to by mesh name. And what this will do is it will look for these prefixes on the FBX's like objects. So all of the lows will only be matched to the ones that match the name with underscore low and underscore high. That's why it was very important to set up as A, B, and C, so that it knows that only A will be baked onto A, only B will be baked onto B, and only C will be baked onto C. And you need to do this in 3 places. You need to do it here on the normal. You need to do it on the ambient occlusion, so self-occlusion, only same mesh name, and you need to do it on the thickness. So again, thickness, self-occlusion, only same mesh name, okay? Very important to do it on those 3 places, otherwise you're gonna get contamination on those maps. And I'm gonna go back to common. We can add a little bit of anti-aliasing, so let's do like a 2x2, and just hit select the textures. And as you can see, our little detail, which is not that much, we did a very, very simple like high poly detail. It's there, like you can see it over there, will be now baked onto the surface. But as you can see, like the thickness and the ambient occlusion, none of the things that we had in ZBrush are being baked like from one place to the other. So now we have 3 really nice planks that we're going to be able to use and mix and match as much as we want. Here's where we would need to use like a little bit of magic. I don't want to take a lot of time on this one, so I'm actually going to go onto the smart materials, and I believe there's like one called wood, like a damaged wood. I think that's one of these ones actually. Okay, so let's do a very traditional. So we have this wood rough. So I'm just gonna drop the wood rough over here. Very well, very important. The lines of the wood are going in the proper direction. And as you can see, this is one of the advantages of having 3 copies of this. Even though it's the same plank, having 3 copies allows us to have a little bit of variation on the texture. So not only do we have variation on the shapes of the object with this like little effects over here, we also have changes on the variation. Now, if you want to get rid of this cut right there, super simple. You go to the options, to the properties of the thing, and you can change the projection from UV projection to triplanar projection. Of course, in this case, we do need to rotate this like 90 degrees. And in this case, it will work because the object is like very square. But it's not working over here. So yeah, I'm actually gonna go back to UV projection. But if you wanted to, you could use some triplanar projection. I don't think it's the big deal to have that little seam over there. But if it bothers you guys, that could be an option. Now let's do a very basic like a dirt. So I'm just gonna grab like a rust. Go here. Add a black mask. Add black mask, and then on the mask we're gonna add a generator, and on the generator we're gonna add, of course, a dirt generator. And again, you can see here that the dirt is not going in between the planks, which is super important and something that we want to avoid, because if at any point we're just gonna have like one solitary plank somewhere, we don't want to have like contamination where it's not supposed to have. That's why the matching of the names was really, really important. I'm gonna change this to overlay, of course, and I'm probably gonna make this a little bit darker. So darker. Let's go play around with the intensity of the generator. Probably like a softer contrast, and then even the overlay we can like lower it a little bit. There we go. Let's do a very quick metal edge course. I'm just gonna do a fill layer. I do want to keep roughness. It's gonna be really high on the roughness. And then the color, I'm gonna sample this same like wood color and just make it slightly lighter like this. Usually a little bit fresher, so something like this. Add a black mask, right click, add a generator, click. We're gonna add a metal edgeware, which is gonna hit all of the corners. We don't want that. We know that that's not something that we usually want. And the reason is no single object will receive damage like equally throughout the whole thing. So here's where we're gonna be using the technique that's very easy and very simple. We're gonna be using a fill layer. So add a fill layer right here. And we're gonna use something like Clouds 3. Probably increase the contrast a little bit, so that we have like nice like dark and white spots, and we're gonna multiply this one against the metal edgeware. So now not all of the edges are equally the same. I like to have this one in linear dodge to really like highlight, and then of course lower this depending on how intense or not I want the damage. One extra little thing that we can add here, I actually like to add a fill layer, and there's a very nice texture called scratches. So we have this like grunge scratches, or even like this. Yeah, this one, grunge scratch generator, and you can see that we get like random scratches along the planks, and you can change the amount of scratches, how intense they are. Again, depending on the project, you're gonna get a very nice effect. And that's pretty much it. That's it. We have our texture. So now it's just a matter of exporting this, guys, placing them inside of Maya, combining them, and bringing them into Unreal, which we're gonna be doing eventually. So let's just go here real quick to our nice little iRay render inside of a substance to get a nice render here for our thumbnail. And this is it. This is a very quick process of how to do a simple prop. We started in ZBRUSH, quick blocking, very quick sculptor, just change this, very quick decimation trick. Don't forget about that one. Very, very important, very, very useful whenever doing this kind of things. And again, quick UVs, quick texture, and there we go. We're good to go. We're ready to continue working on this. We're gonna have to pause it again. You know how this project is. It comes and goes. It's kind of like our filler project when we don't have like specific topic to talk about. But tomorrow we start with a new project. Don't forget about that. We also open our submissions. So if you have your portfolio ready or updated and you want to review it, or you want to have it reviewed, make sure to check tomorrow on the description of the video where the little link is going to be open for you guys to upload your stuff. That's it for me. Have a nice weekend, guys. I'll see you back tomorrow. And let me just again make sure that we stop the video over here. See you tomorrow, guys. Bye-bye.